Alright, welcome everyone back again to the Education Diary, day number one of the robotics. Today we are going to understand some of the very basic concepts about robotics. Apart from that, I'm also going to tell you that what are kind of different softwares or what are different kind of techniques if you're actually willing to enter into the field of robotics. Alright. So as usual, I'm going to show you the PPT slides, but as the education something like my habit is not actually to see from the PPT and today we are going to understand the details, the very basic so you can actually read from the PPT. Apart from that, I'm actually going to tell you kind of different softwares or something what are different kind of techniques. Alright, if you're actually willing to. So first of all, you need to understand one very important thing that robotics as usual, I'm going to show you the PPT slides again as the education something like my habit is not actually to see from the PPT. So as usual, I'm going to the details blackboard, so you can actually read from the PPT. Apart from that, I'm actually going to tell you kind of personally after that or something what are different kind of techniques. Alright, if you're actually so first of all, you need to understand one very important thing that so as usual, apart from that, science is going to be habit is not actually main. So as usual, I'm going to the details blackboard, so you can actually read from the PPT. Apart from that, now in software you are going to be having or course multiple categories that can be database that can so first of all you need to understand that so as usual apart from that software testing is going to be having main. So as usual I'm going to the details blackboard, so you can actually read from the software. Apart from that, now in software you are going to do the hardware of course majorly having that can be use cases. So first of all you need to understand that so as usual apart from that software testing is going to be having main. So as usual, right, so these are actually two so you can actually read from the software. Apart from that, now so in software you are going to do the hardware of course majorly having that can be use cases. So first of all you need to understand that so as usual apart from that software testing fits main. So as usual, right, so these are actually two majorly the software. So in software you are going to do the hardware of they can majorly having that can be use cases. So first of all you need to understand that so as usual apart from that software testing fits main. So as usual, right, so these are actually majorly the software. So in software you are going to do the hardware of they can majorly should know how to use cases. So first of all you need to understand that so as usual now apart from that software testing fits main. So as usual, right, so these are actually majorly the software. So in software you are going to do the hardware of they can majorly should know how to use cases. So first of all you need to understand that so as usual now apart from that software testing fits main. So as usual, right, so these are actually majorly the so in software you are going to do the hardware of they can majorly should know how to use cases. So first of all you need to of course the previous now apart from that software testing fits main. So as usual, right, so these are actually majorly the so in software you are going to do the hardware of they can majorly should know how to use cases. So first of all you need to of course the previous now apart from that software testing fits main. So as usual, right, so these are actually majorly so in software you are going to do the hardware of they can majorly should know how to use cases. So first of all you need to of course the previous now apart from that software testing fits main. So as usual, right, so these are actually majorly so in software you are going to do the hardware of they can majorly should know how to use cases. So first of all you need to of course now apart from that now apart from that software testing majorly That is something which is really important to understand. So yeah, robot is basically something which is programmable first of all. Apart from that, the machine is capable of running different kind of functions. All right. Now, apart from that, you can also understand what is going to be the history of robotics. So the history of robotics is basically going to be coming from 1960s and 1950s, in the places like Greece and China, right? So the ancient civilizations basically made some automated machines. So I'm not sure like if you have heard about this or no, but in the medieval period in China and Greece, so there was this kind of candle which was burning, and of course there used to be a needle, and it was being tied with a string, and there was a glass on that string. So of course by the time it was like low, the candle is burning. So as soon as it comes to the point of the needle, so the needle basically used to hop, and the glass used to cover this whole candle, and of course the candle used to be we can say close, or it turns off, right? So it was just a normal technique of, without using any kind of electrical interferences, this was just something, a technique to switch off the room light, right? So these were some of the very basic techniques which were being used by humans in the past, especially in China and Japan and Greece, which were being the major part for the development of robotics. All right. Now, apart from that, the 20th century is known as to be one of the major, we can say, changement in the field of robotics as well as machine learning, in which the electronics were being introduced. So if you do remember the first generation of computer, right? So we were having ENIAC. If you have following all these things, so ENIAC, EDZAC, these were some of the major changes in which the computers were being introduced into the 18th and 19th century. Of course, the first lady programmer, Ada Augusta and Charles Babbage. So these were actually the main people who introduced the computers. And once the computer was being introduced into the history, so of course the humans actually wanted to make these computers work automatically, which basically created the work automation, right? So automation is something which is again used by AI, right? Nowadays people say that automation basically means AI. So you are basically training a model and it is being automated after some trainings, and that is basically considered as AI, right? Now modern robotics are basically being used into the field of army. So if you're going into the field of army nowadays, you can see that China, US, India, so these are some of the top countries which basically use robotics in the field of army, right? So this basically reduces the casualties of the soldiers, and apart from that, this is something which is kind of like cheap for some countries, but for some countries this is really expensive, like for US, because they that invest a lot and lot of into the R&D department into the field of robotics, especially in the field of army, right? Now again, you can see that robotic components and systems is something, if you're a student in computer science, so you already know that Arduinos, you can basically train Arduino. Based on that, the Arduino sensors can be worked, they can have some various tasks, right? So you can use some sensors in the form of Arduino. You're going to be having actuators. Now if you haven't heard about the word actuator, so it is basically something which converts electricity into the motion. So the electricity is flowing into a circuit, but again it's just static, so the thing, or the device is just static. But once if you implement the electricity into kind of motion, that can be into the form of car, into the kind of like self-driving cars, we can say, right? Or in the form of solar energy. So all these different kind of devices can be considered as in the form of robotics. Apart from that, control systems is also based on the process and sensory data, which basically use actuators to execute actions, right? So there are multiple various systems in a robot, so that depends on what development you are willing to do. If you want to have a robot which is having a huge knowledge and you can just ask a question and the robot can reply, so for that you just need to connect the robot, we can say speaker, which is basically going to produce voice with an API of the chat GPT or any other case, and then the speaker is going to speak. Now again, in this section is something, you also want that robot should be having some mouth movement when the speaker is having or producing a sound based on the word the speaker is producing. So in that case also you need to configure and work with the architecture or with the hardware, and again you have to configure on all these things, that based on the word the mouth should be having some kind of motions and movements, right? So these are actually coming into the control systems. Now again, sensors and actuators. So you're going to be having multiple types of sensors that can include ultrasonic, infrared, and cameras. So again, you can use computer vision. I hope so that if you're coming from computer science, so you already know about computer vision. So computer vision techniques can be used in the form of camera lenses, which can be placed into the robotic's face, right? And based on the movement of the person in front of the robot can say something. So if I'm on the left side, the camera going to track my position, and it is going to greet me. The more if I come close to the camera, the based on that movement, based on the position I'm starting or sitting or any kind of movement if I'm doing, so the robot is going to give answer based on that. So if I'm doing high from my hands, so the robot camera can see that I'm doing high, and based on that high, we can say movement, or based on the high, of course, model. So the robot can actually also say hi based on my hands movement or hand structure. So again, you are going to be having some actuator types which do include some motors and hydraulic and pneumatic actuators for movement. So of course, if you want to make a robot move, so you're going to be using some hydraulic motion sensors or hydraulic motors also, which can make the robot move. So again, the ultimate goal of making robot is based on your requirement. So if you want to make a robot which can pick up some heavy things, so again you are going to be required a huge amount of energy and of course huge amount of actuator devices, so that the robot can do this kind of task, right? And in the field of robotics, the problem which happens with the researchers and the scientists is that they want to make a robot which is going to be having long lasting life or a long lasting battery. So in that case, if a robot is having a huge amount of battery, but if a robot is working, so the time period of a robot, which is like, if we take an example of Sophia, they have a very less amount of battery life, so they cannot last very long. So the battery needs to be charged or needs to be replaced. All right, so these are some of the very crucial and important parts in the field of, we can say, robotics, so which is actually under development. So researchers are right now developing more and more different kind of batteries if they can work much more longer. Apart from that, you are also going to be having some things from the computer science, as I told you, from the field of software, which is going to be languages. So you must at least know Python. If you're not familiar with Python, you should be good at C++. Like I always suggest everyone, uh, Python is good, but if you are actually into the field of programming, it can be anything. It can be robotics, it can be drone, it can be AI, machine learning, it can be natural language processing, or any kind of field. You should at least know C or C++ or C sharp. So I would suggest go with C, and once you have done with C, go with C++, because this is something which is going to be giving a lot and lot of value inside your CV and inside your resume. And of course the use cases is universal. So if you know Python, but Python is going to be having some limited use cases, it cannot be used everywhere. But if you are going to be working with C++, so you can make applications, you can make websites, you can have a lot and lot of different things in C++. Of course you are going to be working on some algorithms. So algorithms is going to be, you are going to be making up some of your own algorithms, or you're going to be selecting from the pre-existing algorithms that can be that you can take CNN, you can take RNN, or you can take MERN. You can also go with some of the pre-existing models like YOLO for the computer vision, right? So you can train the model based on that. Apart from that, if you want to develop your own algorithm, so you have to work and you have to do some research on the latest algorithm development into the field of robotics. Apart from that, you are also going to be working on simulation too. So once you're going to you program a robotic, so you're not going to be directly promoting or executing that into the public. So you have to run the robotic into the form of simulation format. That there are multiple softwares which you can use. So the one which personally I would suggest is FreeRTOS, if you don't know. So that is one of like my favorite software which I use for the simulation techniques. So I can write, maybe many of you know about this software, which is FreeRTOS, which is an operating system which runs into the real time. So you should be using FreeRTOS. I'm not sure this was only the name, but I do think so that RTOS is something the important one. I think so that was FRE or FREE. So the name is FreeRTOS, which is an online operating system, real-time operating system. Now, as you can see that nowadays in AWS, in Google, so you're going to be having a lot of industrial robots which are working in manufacturing, assembling, and building operations. So of course, if you go into the big companies like if I say like in Korea, we are going to be having POSCO, right? So this is POSCO Steel. This is one of a very big company in Korea. Apart from that, we are also having Sia Steel. This is also very big company. We are also having Hyundai. So if you go in these type of companies where the cars are being assembled, or you can go into the Suzuki, right? So if you ever get a chance to visit to the manufacturing unit of all these companies, I would like strongly suggest you to go to these companies to check out that how actually the field the robotics is actually working on. If you are working in Amazon warehouses, so you can also see you can also see in Flipkart, if I'm not wrong. But Flipkart is something which I wouldn't suggest. I never saw in Flipkart. But these are some of the big good places: POSCO, Sia, Hyundai, Suzuki, where actually you can go and you can see robots being working. So in that case, you can see that cars are being manufactured, which are being taken up places. The hands of the robots are basically welding, and everything is being done by robots. So the huge tasks of picking up the heavy parts and welding them, and fixing the doors of a car, fixing the multiple parts of a car, is being done by robots. Now, service robots is, of course, as I told you in starting, that in healthcare, hospitality, and customer service environments. So if you're going to the international airports of Korea, or if you go to the international airports of US or Japan, so you are going to be meeting with the robots which are actually moving into the airport. And once actually you go in front of them, they will actually stop, they will see you, they will greet you, and you are going to be having a menu option onto the screen. So you just need to tap on the option in which you want to go or proceed. Otherwise, there is also a voice assistant feature, so you just need to click on that, and then you can ask the questions that where is this gate number 3 in this airport, or where is this we can say food like food channel, like suppose where is a Burger King or Lotteria, or where are these kind of different food court. So based on your questions, the robot can say you to follow it, so the robot is going to take you to that particular place. So of course the enhancements and the AI technologies is really growing fast. In India, it's not growing very rapidly, but if you see into the other countries like in Korea or in Japan, so it is like really rapid, right? Apart from that, you are also going to be working on some benefits. So It can also be used into the we can say convenience stores. So nowadays you can see, if you're following up some good Discovery Channel or History TV 18, these are some of the good channels for the science and for this we can say, of course, for the computer science channels. So in these channels you are going to be having some news which is coming that nowadays the convenience stores are having no person. So you just need to pick something, and you just need to scan it, and the transaction has been taken up place. So of course you can see that it is basically being working very fast, and the robotics is one of the field which is going to be implemented in this. All right. Now, of course, the future of robotics is, of course, and advancements in AI. The more advanced the AI is becoming, the advanced robot is also going to be in that time. Societal impact, that it's going to be revolutionize industries and everyday life. That, of course, as I told you, in healthcare, agriculture, in education, means in every field, the robotics has been introduced. Ethical consideration is going to be that, of course, the device or the machine is not capable like human thinking or human feelings. So that is kind of like a drawback and a disadvantage, that somehow if a robot is going to be having some problems in itself, some programming, we can say bugs or something like that, if it's coming, or if it can be controlled or manipulated by the other hackers or something like that. So it is something kind of like misuse which the people can use of the robotics. That is something, the disadvantage. All right, so this is actually overall the view, I think. So that's it. And yeah, that's it for today, and I hope so that you basically enjoyed about the robotics. So I would strongly suggest to actually focus on this computer architecture, right? So if you are going to be working on the hardware side, so please do learn about software. I'm not saying don't learn about the database or codings or the cybersecurity or any kind of programming. I would strongly suggest to at least focus on hardware, fixing the machine, understanding how the motherboards work, understanding how different kind of that PCBs are working, or multiple we can say devices are working, which are microcontrollers, and we can say signals or antennas or whatever. So once you're going to be learning on fixing the hardware or understanding the hardware, it is going to be really easy for you to enhance the processing time, or you can understand about the microcontrollers or chips in that way. So that's it for today, and I hope so that you really enjoyed. If you do have any questions, make sure to send an email to the education diary. And if you want to enroll for the courses like big data or cyber security, so you can actually enroll for the education diary, and then you can get the certification in that particular field. I hope so that you really enjoyed. We are going in to meet in the next